I am Daisy. Thank you so much. Also, a quick little promo. If you are interested in a personal reading for yourself, you can visit my personal page. It's got a little drop down. I do 20-minute readings. I do 40-minute readings. Some of you have had these services and actually can probably share with each other like, hey, yes, this was good, or what happened in it. That way, you kind of get an idea. They're really powerful. Thank you, Liana. Liana just said that readings are amazing. Of course. Let's move on to developing psychic abilities. So let's get started with that. And so down to the nitty-gritty, everyone has dormant psychic abilities, and which these can be developed for expanding the field of reference that we all have. And that means like to help us expand how we connect with the world. So the question is, how can you reawaken these gifts? And it all starts with relearning about the language of these senses. Sometimes you can know stuff, when put it this way, you might, you know something, but when you learn it, then you begin to awaken to it, and then you begin to be able to use it. So that's kind of what this is all about. So what are these other senses? I think we need to go and go like this. Shh, they're the psychic senses. Oh. Actually, this collective word phrase includes any and all the types of what they call clairsenses, meaning clear sensing. That's why it's called clair. They use that word to really clear sensing. So we're just using rough senses, but those are the real clear senses. And by connecting with all parts of yourself, not just the visible human part, you can remember why you're here and are better able to deal with the challenges of this world. So when you begin accessing your natural extra-sensing abilities, you may notice changes happening in your life. And what happens here is because you begin to actually shift on the things that are happening. The experiences begin to help you question what is true to you, what is true in relationship to the world that you are living in. So, it's like sometimes you can hear people tell you things, but it's their truth, it's their lessons, it's what they need, or things that happened in the past. But the world is constantly changing. So it's really in helping us to deal with things happening in our lives. So as we shift, our perceptions changes, and our ideas of what is important to us changes as well. The question and the only thing is that only you can determine if you're willing and ready for that shift to happen in your life. So the question is, why would you want to connect with your expanded senses? And simple is, we are entering a new world of technology, which is making us somewhat complacent. I mean, even think about the washing machine. I mean, people back then used to have to take their clothes to the river and wash their clothes. Wow, now we just dump it in a thing and it washes it. The thing is, do we have the right detergent or whatever, But I think that the primary reason why would be to become more aware of the changes happening in your life and to work with those changes to generate a more productive and conscious human reality for yourself. So you may find that having a mentor, guide, or a guide to help you in this journey, or a good friend that is also going through personal growth might be something that will help you, because then you can talk about these experiences as each one of you are having them. And there's no need to rush in discovering these other senses. Let it happen at a pace that is natural for you. So one thing that I would recommend is to keep a journal of your experiences, the things that you're experiencing. I love how my mom used to keep a miracle journal, and it was what you thought would be normal incidents turn out to be miracles, everyday miracles. If I told you that right before I was having this session, I was having chaos, you would not believe it. 40 minutes before my session started, my internet went down. My husband was like, and when do you need to do this? I said, don't worry, honey. I'm just going to have to take us. If this isn't resolved in the next few minutes, I'm just going to have to go to Starbucks, drive out somewhere, and just park in a parking lot and see if I can catch a Wi-Fi. And And he just said, you know what, I'm just going to go out and see if it's our router. So he actually went to the store out of town to buy or get a replacement router. But I just put myself in prayer and I said, you know, God, if you know that I have an important message to send to even one person, please make sure that this gets resolved before 3 o'clock. And my mom would put that in the miracle journal because that's a miracle. And I summoned Archangel Michael to come in and remove any cords and negativity, any energy that might want to stop this information to get to you. So here I am, you know, broadcasting, and I call these miracles. Some people might say, oh, well, you know, it's a miracle that my husband saw the urgency, that the router was bad, that he got one and replaced it, that I asked God and the angels to help and intervene, especially Archangel Michael, the warrior out here. So I believe, that's all I can tell you. And they might say, I just created some, you know, that I was, you know, creating some energy, that I was doing something weird. I just believe in it, and that's all. Okay, so let's talk about these clairsenses. Most of the clairsenses may correspond individually or collectively with a combination of the basic natural senses. And these are seeing, hearing, feeling, smelling, tasting, and touching. And clairsenses are clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, Clairtant, Clairtangency, and Clairgustance. And we can include channeling as well. So let's start with clairvoyance, clear vision. So that means to reach into another vibrational frequency and visually perceive with the mind's eye something existing in that realm. So you may receive impressions and symbols in the form of inner sight or mental images which are perceived without the aid of your physical eyes, beyond the limitations of ordinary space and time. And though many clairvoyants can obtain visual information regarding the past, the present, or the future without, you know, any aid, many like to use oracles, you know, like I do, and or meditating, or they like to go into their inner self. So all these other things just enhance the reception and triggers more of these clear senses and the ability to be able then to understand the messages as they're coming through. So now you may be clairvoyant if you have a very active dream life, if you often spend time daydreaming, if you have, you know, great imagination, if you can see colors, shapes, objects, or pictures when you close your eyes, or if you can also see your dreams in, you know, high definition. And if you see sparkly lights, flashes of lights, or movements from the corners of your eyes, you may be clairvoyant and you might be able to enhance that sense. You could also, people that tend to have a tendency for clairvoyancy are people that use I see or you see in their everyday conversations. So they use that word a lot. Well, I see this, or do you see that? Do you see what I mean? That's kind of, you could tell that they would be able to magnify that clear vision. The clairaudience means clear audio hearing, clear hearing. And that means to perceive sounds or words beyond the ordinary voice or sound and noise that you can capture through your standard ears. There could be stuff that's broadcasting from the ethereal realm in the form of inner ear or a mental tone, which you can perceive without the aid of your hearing, physical ears. And most channelers, and they're also known as mediums, work with both clairvoyance and clairaudience. So if you want to know if you're clairaudient, you might be if you are more of a listener than a talker. So people that listen a lot and not talk a lot, they have heightened hearing. If you often talk to animals or plants and you feel that they're communicating with you, you may be clairaudient. If you've ever felt like you've received a telepathic information, like, I don't know, I think I'm getting this thing, you know, it's like a message from something, you most likely are clairaudient. And this happens to me too, this one in particular, and it happens to me when I'm doing a reading. When you give advice or you're talking and you forget what you said immediately, and all of a sudden you say, where did that come from? Because it's so profound. The other one could be if you hear a ringing or buzzing in your ears, or you've had that quiet sensation, much like when you're in an airplane, it's like everything's real quiet. you may be clairaudient. And also, if you use the one, I hear, like, hey, did you hear that? Or you hear what I'm saying? Usually people that say that usually tend to be clairaudient. Clairsentients are those with clear feeling. That means to perceive information by a feeling within the whole body, without any outer stimuli related to that feeling or that information. Empaths is a person who can tune into the emotional experience of a person, place, or animal. Clairsentients or empaths are a type of telepathy to sense or feel within one's own self, your attitude, your emotions. Sometimes you can even feel ailments of another person. You could feel it or sense it. Sometimes you might feel that vibration. You might feel it within your own body, especially healers. Some healers can do that. They have a sense of where that is, and they're feeling that energy. So they tune into vibrations and feel the tones of the aura and the energy field. You may be clairsentient, or you might be an empath if you're highly sensitive with your surroundings and you easily pick up the vibe of people or places. Another way to tell is when you visit large crowds and all of a sudden you get emotions, all of a sudden get different reactions, or your physical body begins to feel different. You also might be an empath or clairsentient if when you're around visiting other people's homes, you can pick up the emotions, but you really don't know what it is, You can empathize with others easily, knowing what they are, feeling without speaking with them. That's another one. Sometimes you can feel what they're, what's going on without even, talking to them. A lot of people, my mom's like that. You can feel the presence of spirits. You can feel other people's pain also. So we talked about clairsentients can feel other people's pain. And empaths usually feel a lot. I feel, this, or do you feel that, or it's like, hey, did you, they use the word feel in their conversations, so that's one way you could tell if you are an empath if you use the word feel a lot. It means that you can open that. If you feel like, well, I'm not an empath, but it just means that you most likely can easily activate that sensation, that enhanced feeling. Clairgustance is clear tasting. And this is pretty creepy for people that can do that. To taste a substance without putting it in your mouth, But the thing is that people that have this sensation, Clairtangency, they can actually perceive information through the flavors that they're feeling in their mouth. It's pretty interesting. Clear scent is the other of the senses. To smell a fragrance or substance or food which is not in your surrounding. So these odors are perceived without the aid of your nose and can, of course, go beyond, your space and time here. And you might have experienced this where you're walking and all of a sudden you smell a sweet aroma. Sometimes people say that those are angelic forces or a higher spirits around you. Or, and I know that some of you have experienced this, foul smells without it being around. And usually they'll pick this up if somebody's lying or there's deception happening. And you've heard that. Says, oh, I smell something fishy with this, So if you've ever said something like that, you might have the ability to enhance your smell sensations. So it's Clairtangency, which is also commonly known as psychometry. Clairtangency is clear touching, to handle an object or touch an area and perceive through the palm of one's hands information about the article, the owner, and its history. And then we have channel. A lot of us are channelers. A channel is a person who allows an etheric world intelligence to enter their mind and impress thoughts upon the conscience to be spoken aloud, using their voice or body to deliver information or healing energy. So, I do that a lot. I've experienced many of these except the Clairgustance. I haven't had that. But I think once I had a little bit of sensation, which definitely I'm going to be tuning into that. The takeaway here is each one of us is already actively using a combination of these expanded senses. And I like to use the word expanded because psychic, I think that we're beyond, our evolution is beyond separating that term. It's really understanding that it's just part of us and we're just expanding it. And I believe that all of us are using it to some expanded level at varying degrees of strengths because these are really natural senses. They're really natural to us. Some of us are even unaware that we're using them. And I want to share something really important that I actually made a little insert here. So here we go. One of the greatest teachers that walked the earth, Jesus, as narrated in the Bible, documented his use of these expanded senses: clairvoyance, healing, recognition, psychic reading, levitation, casting out evil spirits, alchemy, and telekinesis. Jesus himself said in John, and I use the Bible for a reference, you can go there, in the book of John, chapter 14, verse 12, all the works I have done, you can do, and much more than these. So it's no surprise. He told you can do more than I can. An example of Jesus' use of his expanded senses was his encounter with the Samaritan woman at Jacob's well. Jesus asked the Samaritan woman to go and call her husband. I'm reading it because I want to make sure I get it right. She replied that she had no husband. Jesus said to the woman, "Go and call your husband." And she said, "I don't have a husband." And then Jesus said, "You're right in saying I have no husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and the one you have now is not your husband." And you can look that up in the book of John, chapter 4, verse 16. And so the woman, of course, admitted it, and she told everybody, yeah, he's right. Jesus also foretold several events before they happened. For example, he told his disciples during the Last Supper that one of you is going to betray me, and Judas did. And that was in the book of Matthew, chapter 26, verse 20. And also in Matthew chapter 26, verse 15, it was another example when he told Peter, "Before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times. And that happened. There were several examples in the Gospels when Jesus cast out evil spirits from people's bodies. And he taught his disciples how to heal people and how to expel negative energy from others. And that's also in the book of Mark, chapter 1, verse 21. So you can look all of that up. I share this with you just so you could see that it's nothing new. Don't be freaked out. Some people freak out. Oh my God. It's just that some of us are okay with it. We love sharing it. And we know that these are tools that are helping all of us move the planet forward and help each other rise and bring the light. So these are just some of the extraordinary uses of these extra senses demonstrated by Jesus Christ. And he represents the next evolution of human consciousness, which we are a part of. He was a model of what man can accomplish and what he can do. And so if we put it to good, we can do a lot of good things. Now, for those of us that follow Buddhism, in Sanskrit literature written in the suttas, not the Bible, in the suttas, in Sanskrit, Buddhism has long accepted the idea of people being psychic and the development of these enhanced senses. Rather than treating psychic as some weird phenomena and freakish thing to avoid, the Buddhists tend to treat it as everyday things, and the psychic experience itself should not be made into a big deal. That's how they see it. Okay, so you got it, now what? But they do warn, they have a big warning about this expanded senses. They say, do not follow the path of enlightenment for mere access of the heightened senses. It is important not to get caught and lost in these senses, but to become. The miracle is not supernatural at all. It is the miracle of Dharma, and Dharma is the path of light, true wisdom. That's what we need to seek. So, of the first reference about Jesus, of course, you'll have to find that in the Bible. And if you would like to find out more about the Buddhism, the Sanskrit, and suttas, there's this website called psychicsdirectory.com, articles on Buddhism. So you can find that there. Now we're going to talk about how to awaken these dormant senses. As with all things, intention is a big part of developing your extra senses. So let your guides and angels know that you are opening to developing these dormant senses and ask for their help. And let me tell you, they are excited and they want to help you. And they're ready, at the ready when you ask. Understand that just like muscles, let's say abdominals, you want to really work on your abs, for the summer. You don't know that you have obliques until you start doing your sit-ups and your side bends and really, pushing through. And it's the repetitive use of these muscles that really begin to show. And that's the same thing with your dormant senses. The more you use them, the more you know how to use them. The more you don't become baffled and, you say, oh, wow, pretty cool. Okay, turn it on, ready. It's just like, when you're tasting a new dish and you're like trying to find out the salty and sweet of it. That's just how it is. Oh, Flora was saying that my sessions are so clear, transparent. It helped me a lot in understanding people, myself, and life better. Well, you're welcome. I'm glad. And I hope that that we can continue to share this with each other. Thank you so much for saying that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to describe several exercises that you can try. And one of the things that I'm going to share, if this is something new for you, when doing each of these exercises on your own, it's helpful if you sit for a moment and relax yourself. Don't be like all amped up and nervous. Just kind of, if you're going to try any of these exercises, just relax, close your eyes, and come to your peaceful place. And then try it, whatever it is you're going to try. And then when you're done, when you're finished, take also a little bit of time to sit back and just say, okay, I'm done. I'm really good. Let me come back to your normal routine and to your normal senses, okay? And then you get on. So I've said this before, meditate. That's my first one because it's the most important one. Meditate. Could be for 10, 15 minutes a day. Meditation is super important because it raises your vibration. Yes, seems like you're doing nothing, but that is how you raise your vibration. And it's super important because you are connecting to ethereal energy. And ethereal energy is super high frequency. The frequency is so high. So like when you're actually having a connection with your spirit guides, with your angels, with divine energy, you have to understand that there is a little give and take happening. They're slowing down for you and you've got to raise for them, and all of a sudden, click, it happens. So make that effort to meditate just so that you can elevate your frequency to that frequency. It makes sense, right? Now, psychometry is reading energy of an object, and it can be a lot of fun, and it's a great way to begin to awaken these senses. All you need to do is hold on to an object, close your eyes, and see if you can intuitively sense, see, feel, hear anything about the owner of that object. And then what you should do, and if you like, record it, put a recorder, or if someone's there next to you, that's better when you do it with somebody else's object. Tell a story, just babble, just let it roll out of your tongue, and ask the owner, how much of that was true? So that's how you begin to awaken your senses. Now try this. This is another cool one. There are these little cards. They're called Zener cards. Some places call them ESP cards, but they have symbols on them. So you can do this with a friend. It's really fun. And you could pick a card, study the card, and then try sending that message to your friend. Don't show them the card. Just sit there and mentally send them that image. And the trick here is not to send them a little image. You yourself start amplifying the message. The bigger you make that symbol that you're looking at bigger in your mind and send it to them, the better they have at capturing that message. And you don't have to go and buy these cards. You can make them. You just get 3x5 cards, and on one you put a circle, on another one you make a square, another one you can make wavy lines or like equal signs. Then on another one you do a star, and then on the last one you can do a plus sign. Really lots of fun. And don't freak yourself out. It's like, oh my God, you're sending information through a wave energy, so it's pretty intense. As you can see, there's so many ways to tap into your extra senses. And remember, the greatest teacher that has walked the earth has shown us the way. Let us follow and step into the next evolution of human consciousness. Well, thank you so much for joining me. If you like what you've heard here today, please like, comment, tell me about your extrasensory ability, and make sure to subscribe to my channel.